Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here today. So I'm having a lot of technical issues, probably due to these energies. The video that I posted earlier was only a portion. I didn't get to finish. I had started the sketch in there. I didn't get to finish it, didn't realize it had cut off. So I went through this whole thing, and that's always very challenging because I feel like the initial run through is always the most potent version. I really dislike having to repeat. So I've been trying to do this a couple different ways. I'm hoping this will work this time. So I'm just going to kind of jump into this. A lot of times after I do the videos too for myself, there will be a lot of like new downloads that come in and new information. So perhaps this is kind of all where this is going. So I'm just going to jump in here. So we're definitely dealing with this dark mother energy. Now there's a lot to be said about this dark mother. We're going to talk about it in relation to masculine energy. I'm sure we all know, we've seen this play out so many times where it's like, don't come between a boy and his mother, right? You can't say anything about your partner's spouse's mother, right? Don't talk about my mother that way. And yet we don't say that about fathers or masculine energy. So there's definitely something odd and strange here. Now, this energy is incredibly manipulative, and it's incredibly mentally based. So there is this kind of mental entrapment, mental imprisonment going on here with this energy. And part of the reason for that is that, of course, this individual, this feminine energy, is entrapped herself, right? So of course, in this lifetime, she would have experienced wounding through her childhood. But more than that, she is tied to what I often call the Orion energies, these off-world tones, whatever this mental mind programming is that is run into this planet. She is very much a puppet of this. And so then by default, because now if we say an aligned divine feminine, right, she's very aligned with her truth of her source. This is not. She is controlled by this energy. And so therefore, everything that she does is to then control another. So it's very much mentally based, and it's not heart-based whatsoever. The problem is that the masculine energy, see, this is what these programs do too. We have the way we believe things should be, right? Like, it's my mother, therefore she must love me. It must be love-based, even though in this particular connection there is no love there. This is all mental manipulation, deception, narcissism, this kind of energy. And so there is this loyalty that this individual has to this whole system here. And unfortunately, they don't even realize this is what's happening. And this is a lot of the pain that is coming up right now, is the realization that what I have given my heart and soul to actually is a machine, actually doesn't love me. And I think I've heard men say this before, you know, like, my mother is the only woman who truly loved me. And once she passes, no one will ever love me like she does. Well, not understanding that oftentimes a mother's love is very conditional, and especially this kind of dark mother energy, it's all conditional. There's nothing unconditional about it. So it's very confusing through the mind, incredibly painful when this comes to light. Now, the feminine has been going through this for quite some time. Certainly within the last 4 to 6 months, probably, you know, for years longer than this, where she has started to realize that not just through the parental system, but through the planet itself, you know, these ways we have been lied to, manipulated, deceived through what we thought was true light. Now, what happens, you can even see this ridiculous hierarchy that sets up here. This is also very much, you know, in the other video I was talking about this womb space, this kind of the double origin here of these two shapes. This is also always represented to me the twin flame connection. And so when you bring in a divine feminine, or you bring in the twin, which is very much heart-based, very much a connection of the light, this masculine here recognizes this, right? But it's like this wall goes up because as this light is coming in and he's seeing this and recognizing this, it's completely the opposite of what this is. And so there is this insanity that starts to occur through the field here. Because how can this be true and how can this be true? And if this is where his, let's just say his loyalty has been sworn to all his life, what does that mean now? He's bought into this truth. And to move over into this truth, that means everything that has come before must suddenly be discarded. What does that mean about him? What does that mean about his values, what he has bought into, what he has given his life over to? All of these implications. This is why we have this craziness when these two energies bump into each other. Now for the divine feminine, there's a lot that's going on here as well. I went and saw the Star Wars movie, which is an awful movie. Just terrible. But there were some things that were going on there which were incredibly interesting because, first of all, we have this energy that is sworn to this, but yet this is being controlled by something much greater. One of the things that really struck me was the Emperor in this movie. Now, at this point, he is living within this ship, which I've seen this. It was probably about a year ago. I think it was a session I was even doing with someone too, where it was this ginormous kind of triangle rock looking thing. But I was like, oh my God, this is like a spaceship. This is definitely a negative kind of off-world type energy, controlling energy here. And I knew it had to do something with the masculine now, which is always frustrating because it's like we see these things be released out, but then how long does it take to trickle down? But it absolutely reminded me, this ship that the Emperor was in, absolutely the same energy. And so he's within this ship, but you know, he is like hanging on this arm, and it's this like machine that's keeping him alive, right? So there's all these cords and all these tubes and then these vials, which even as he says, it's unnatural, it's inorganic, but this is what's keeping him alive. And his whole goal is for, you know, there's these two characters. There's the masculine, oh gosh, is it Kylo Ren, I think, and then the feminine, Rey. And so, you know, she's dressed in white, he's dressed in black. This whole movie, it's like they're battling against each other. So the Emperor wants the male to destroy this Jedi white female. I'm not really sure what the whole idea behind that is, but this guy, this masculine, wants her to take his hand so that they can rule together. They would essentially, if she were to join him, it would wipe this guy out and they would then be in control. But he's still, of course, dark control, this Sith energy, right? As opposed to the Jedi. So, you know, and of course, during the movie, she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. What's interesting about this is that what we don't know, what we come to find out in the movie, this is a total spoiler if you're going to waste your time watching this movie, but you know, she actually, her bloodline, she is the granddaughter of this guy, right? So it's like, it's in her blood anyway. She didn't know it, but she's pursuing the light. She's pursuing the Jedi way. But yet within her, she is the one who is fighting the darkness the whole way. And she's saying to him, she even calls him by his, whatever his regular name is, Ben, you know, his non-Sith name. You know, she's like, I know you're in there. I know you're in there, which is what this recognition is, right? Like, I see your light, I see your light. And this guy's like, no, I'm not. I'm this. I belong to this. And she says, no, it's this. So it's like, as soon as he hits into this and meets this, it's utter like, no way. I'm going back to mommy. This is where um my safety is. This is what makes sense to me. And this isn't just dark mother, right? We see this as the karmic energies as well. This is all, and this isn't just about inner child issues. This is about the deepest pain that we hold in our soul, that we have been unable to see, that we have been unable to feel, that we have been unable to make sense of. And this is what's so beautiful about the twin flame connection, is that this has never been brought to light, except that it bumps into this light, which creates this awful kind of Hall of Mirrors ricochet type energy right now. But it is beginning to clear. So we really need to look at what's going on here. What is interesting is that the divine feminine, we know that the masculine and the feminine are processing these energies differently. She, just like this character here, has had to stay. It's like there's no choice. This is what I know to be true. I'm staying in the light. For these true twin flames. And so what happens is that it kind of puts these boundaries up, And especially right now, this is, I think, what is happening is that so much of this karmic energy that hasn't been dealt with is really being forced to come up. Now, this is almost like the intervention coming in here and saying, no more, I cannot any longer deal with this BS. And really, this is what it means to be a messenger of light, is that we have to speak the truth to this energy, even if it hurts, and even if it means telling this energy that this energy is of this, even if that separates us out in the physical, even if that means this person never wants to talk to us again. And this is why it's so painful to be of the light, is that there's so many truths that we are just incapable of facing on our own. This is what the true twin flame template is about. It's about holding the truth of the light. And that is not easy. That's not about being, oh, look at me, look at how well I'm managing through life and meditating and being all love and light. That's not what it is at all. In fact, sometimes it's quite the opposite. It's having to go in here and say, what the F is all this garbage that's keeping this alive, which is a lot of what we've been seeing lately, these plugs and cords into the spine and the nervous system of our bodies. Nobody wants to go into this cave. It's disgusting. It's this cesspool of energy. And yet this is where we are being called right now to shine the light here and to say, enough is enough of this. So if I'm running out of hands here. But if we start to look at what is going on here with this mother, sorry, I'm just going through some of my, as much as I'm like, I don't want to see what's going on with her. I don't care. She's caused me so much pain in all of these relationships. It's like there's this loyalty over here where you just can't present a different, like, let's look at this a little bit differently. What's going on here, these repeated patterns that we get into. And I'm just using it from the perspective of thinking of all the different relationships I've had, where you just can't say anything about this energy. Like, it's so protected because of this denial, because of this strange bond. So yes, she has this kind of off-world garbage going on, but there's also something here through the female aspect as well. And really what I was seeing, like this emperor, these cords, all of this unnatural life-giving energy. So I have been seeing this as well. It's been a while since I've seen it so much, but this kind of, it's like this umbilicus energy almost, right? So And if we think about it, it's like when you have a child, you're connected in this way. This cord of connection, this seed, which here is really distortion. Even though physically it may fall off, it still exists energetically. So within these umbilicus or placenta fields. And I think a lot of this comes by virtue of just being born into this physical realm. It's something that comes into the physical system. So within the mother, and this just goes back through the lineages, you know? This is just something that is passed down. So we're in this time now where this light is coming in and we're breaking through and we're breaking free of all of this. But let's just, for the sake of giving our attention and compassion to all of these players here, you know, this is a woman who does not know herself. In fact, rather than being connected to the light, she's completely split. And this is really the crux. See, this is so fascinating. She is split not only from her divinity, but within herself. And this is a lot of times where we start to see these kind of bipolar, manic, almost psychopathic behaviors, because she will do, okay, because she doesn't have her connection to her own light, right? This is almost feeding, sourcing, no, it's pulling through her, from her connection to these other, really, maybe her children, but we're still kind of focusing on masculine. So let's say she even has a spouse, a husband, a partner. This is her main source of support because she is so empty. It's like a vacuum. She doesn't have her own. Okay, if we're looking at even the solar gate here, it's like this is your will, this is your connection through into this realm with your source light. Hypothetically speaking, let's just say this, right? That she has a vacuum. It's not organic. There's something else going on here. And it does really feel like it's being pulled out to feed or serve these other kind of energies here. So, you know, if her husband is the one who is subservient to her, giving her, filling her needs, whatever this is, this narcissistic kind of behavior, if he were to, let's say now, pass on, the pull into the remaining kind of, this is vampiric, right? It's like these remaining sources of light or feeding becomes even greater. And this is a lot of times we see this chaos when someone does pass in the family. Suddenly the whole system is thrown into this chaos and insanity here. It just gets, you know, a lot of anger and resentment for having to unknowingly, subconsciously, unconsciously, having to serve this every need. And so okay, I just want to check the time too. Whatever is going on, yeah, she's almost blind here. There's no recognition of the self. There's a lot of pain at the base of the right side of the brain too, which we see a lot of this. But I feel this is really this connection. There's a lot of nausea here. You know, one of the things that was so interesting about this Star Wars movie too was that when Rey came in, so she came into this triangle ship, whatever this was here, to, I don't know what her plan was, defeat the Emperor, I'm not sure. What he was essentially saying was that use your anger and kill me and you'll eliminate me. But then what was going to happen was that he was going to absorb all of her energy, right? So, And of course, we think, oh, let's destroy this thing that eliminates it. But that's not what would have happened. He would have absorbed all of her light. This would have wiped out the entire Jedi lineage, right? So that all that would be left would be this darkness. But you could see in her mind, she was trying to figure out, well, is there a different way? And ultimately, what happened was that these two ended up coming together in an attempt to defeat him. Didn't quite work out as they had expected or hoped. But it was this love of the truth, the love of the light, that really, well, there were some other factors in there too, but that changed this dynamic, that suddenly they were fighting side by side for the same thing. And this, as I said, what is so challenging about being in the light is that sometimes we have to give up this. We have to let go, and we have to say, but this is not of the light, and this can exist in my realm. And again, this is what I think has been going on right now. In the last video, we were talking about freeing our divine masculine mind, and this makes so much sense now. First, we have to release that out, and then this can start to permeate. And we were even saying, like, the light is now starting, able to come through into the mind here. And this isn't to say either that, the divine feminine has this all figured out, because she doesn't. I think sometimes I get a little bit irritated with divine feminine who are like, oh, these masculines can't figure it out. If they would just get here and they would just do their thing, everything would be okay. Now, she is receiving the light, right? She is in the light, but yet there's still a lot within here. There's still a lot of corridors and shadows and things to be resolved through here as well. But as she allows the light to come into the heart, as she allows to make these changes and shifts in her field, in her understanding, this starts to affect in through this divine masculine energy. And where she is learning, where she is applying, it starts to, even this is like this body, this figure starts to materialize through the light. And this isn't an easy job to stand in the light, but she doesn't have all of the answers in the physical either. So there's this very delicate balance we have to walk sometimes with this. And again, this is what it means to be a true twin flame. This isn't, we just rush in and everything is magically kind of connected and corrected. Yes, in the outer realms, the templates, the information exists, but within this physical realm, the application process of it is still in process, clearly. I want to delve a little bit deeper into, sorry, again, I'm just looking at my other, yeah. So we're going to talk about the relationship of the Dark Mother to the Divine Feminine here, I think is where we really need to go. And this is probably what was missing in my initial video. Okay, so this is where I'm going to pause this for now. I don't want to run out of time on my recording and risk losing everything again. Okay, thank you so much for your patience and for being here and for your participation. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take good care, and we will talk soon.